Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayla's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome. Happy Monday. Glad to have you along. I hope your weekend went well, and along with the temperatures, they have disappeared. But yeah, man, we knew it was coming, but it's still hard to deal with. I don't like it. Temperatures dropping, and they're not going to stop as they're going to continue to fall. As nice high of 70 something yesterday. Let's see what did he get up to yesterday? 74. Low coming tonight of 16. Yeah, that's typical. Of course, back Saturday it'll be 71 again. So just hang around. If you don't like the weather, it'll change soon. Hey, glad to have you. Looking forward to another fun day. Don Fischer will join us. The Don, Greg Rakestraw, as well as Dustin Dopirak. As we'll get you caught up on everything. The weekend of college basketball and conference tournament over. And let me tell you, let me be the first to give Purdue their flowers. Purdue accomplished more in these past 4 days than I have seen them accomplish in any other 4 days that I can recall. They were not expected to do what they did. They were beating Michigan alone is an accomplishment, but to get to the championship in this year of the Big Ten being as good as it is, hey, man, they deserve everything that they've got. They're going to be a number two, or did they end up being a number 2 seed? We'll talk about all of that. I would have been a little surprised if they didn't get the bump after that. But, hey, congratulations to the Purdue fans out there. That is the most deserving thing that I have seen them accomplish, possibly under Matt Painter. And I do not mean this. I'm not trying to sound harsh or whatever, but they were not supposed to. This is the year the Big Ten is really good. Michigan is really good. Illinois is really good. And this is not the year that I expect that they were expected to do this. So, hey, they're playing their best. More importantly, they're playing their best basketball of the season without question right now. So, look out for Purdue. They're, I don't think that they have the ability to win a national championship, but Braden Smith is playing pretty off the chain right now. And I truly believe, and yes, he is record hunting. There's no doubt that they're seeking this. He's going after that, and he's only one away now. The all-time assist record. I think that may have been better for Purdue. I think that it may have focused him more on getting other people, getting everybody else involved in scoring. And I think that it has worked out to their advantage. I really do. They have become a different team here of late they have just become a better team here of late. Now, one thing that has a lot to do with, don't forget, they have guys that have been together for 3 years. Yeah, it's about to come to an end, but it's not over yet. And it's paying great dividends right now for the Boilermakers. There's no question that they're playing together as they have is not working to their advantage at the moment. So, hey, you got to get I'm going to call it the way it is, and that's the way it is. Uncle Phil says he's got Purdue losing in Missouri and St. Louis. I'll tell you who was going to be my first pick of being quick out, my quickest out of the Big Ten, of the upper level Big Ten teams, Nebraska. I just have a feeling that, boy, they started off the season 20-0. 20-0, baby. But what they finish, like 6-6? Just managed to get the plane landed. So I can see them a quick out. So, but we'll see. Who's your pick to win it? Obviously, yeah, that was earned, man. I still don't know who my pick to win it all is yet. Obviously, it's going to come out from the upper levels. I mean, to see Arizona and all these top teams get knocked off, I would have a hard time imagining that happens. Duke is but we say the same thing every year, people. There's a reason the number one seeds are the number one seeds. Oh, yeah, they're so strong. Well, they are. And they don't rather. Yeah, how about that? Ben McCollum and Fran McCaffrey both get their teams into the tournament. Thank you, Fred. Ben McCollum, of course, replaced McCaffrey at Iowa. He gets Iowa in. Fran McCaffrey goes to his alma mater at Penn and gets Penn into the tournament. Yeah, Duke is injured. North Carolina is injured. They suffered in the the seed lines because of that, I believe. But who got who did it work out well for? Who won the Oscar? Oh, I'm just kidding. That was last night, by the way. It was kind of funny. That's the longest show that they mix a bunch of stuff in, boy. I've never seen more stuff mixed in that people really, I hate to say, don't care about, but yeah, it's costume designer and all that, while they're great and very, very, very important, it's like getting manager or awards to the managers. People are not going to, not that interested. Not that interested. Well, who's got the winning bracket, man? Who's got the winner? I'm going to hold off on picking my winner until I have to. Until I have to really go through it, because, man, the draws matter. There's so much that matters. Of course, each region gets their. Florida made it back as the number one seed. We'll get our buddy Cabro on as soon as we can, as the Gators climb back. The defending champion. Been kind of up and down this year. We'll talk about all of that and plenty more. The Don is up next. Hey, and don't forget, for our peeps, live in and around Bloomington, if you're coming to Bloomington, looking for something to do with the kids or something for the kids to do while you relax, Dave & Buster's Bloomington's got you covered. Games galore. games for all ages, wall-to-wall TVs. You go watch the NCAA tournament. A full bar, delicious new menu. Plan your next birthday party or work meeting. Get together there. Dave & Buster's private room. Be sure to tell them you heard it on Indiana Sports Beat Radio and get entered for free ISB and IU merch. Dave & Buster's in Bloomington. It's on 751 South College Mall Road. And soon coming, I think Matt Taylor's Indiana Sports Trivia Nights there. Hey, back with more right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Bored, Bloomington? Dave & Buster's can fix that. Eat and drink your way through our all-new menu. Play half-price games every Sunday through Thursday. Watch all your team's wins on a 40-foot screen and 30 HD TVs. And level all up with the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game. Private game suites, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's on 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Glad to have you and happier to have the Don of broadcasting, Don Fischer, with us as always. Don, thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Hope your weekend was okay.
Yeah, it was okay. Nothing great, but okay.
Temperature sure dropped. I'll tell you that, man. Somebody left the door open because maybe they fell off.
Well, I mean, the weather has changed dramatically over the last several days now. We've had 2 days in which the wind blew so hard you couldn't keep your hat on. The weather yesterday was, from a temperature standpoint, was beautiful. And from today, it's like, you got to be kidding me. We're back down into the, 20s or 30s, whatever it is. But it's just different. It's this time of year, it's spring, and that's what happens in Indiana.
If you don't like it, Don, just wait about
right.
a day or so. It'll change, of course, the old joke. The Big Ten and Purdue, man, they're playing their best basketball of the year right now. They had really kind of dropped into a funk and where they had fallen out of that upper level of Big Ten teams, but they're playing their best basketball of the year. And by anybody that can beat Michigan is playing pretty damn well.
Yeah. There's no question. Purdue found something here in the tournament without question. Had to win 4 games to win it and did exactly that. Indiana would have played them in the second ball game that Indiana played had they beaten Northwestern, but that didn't happen, as we know. But the fact of the matter is Purdue looked like they found something, and I think it was defense. I think that's what Matt Painter pretty much alluded to in all the post-game press conferences that he did after winning the Big Ten title. So they're in a great spot. They're the number 2 seed. Obviously, a ball club that, at this juncture, maybe playing some of their best basketball, and that's exactly what you have to have going into the NCAA tournament.
No doubt about that. And of course, Indiana, back in the NCAA or in the Big Ten tournament, faced a foe that they've just had trouble getting by here in the last few years in Northwestern. And they just didn't have it. And Don, I've talked about it a few times, obviously, since it happened. But the one thing I didn't see on the Indiana side that I looked across and I saw from Northwestern was a team. I mean, they were really playing as a team,
Right.
and Indiana just had they ran out of gas. It was just kind of over, it seemed.
I more than anything else, I think that's really what happened to this team at the end of the year. I just think they ran out of gas. And I think we talked about this last week a little bit, but these guys, all the players on this team were mid-major players and never have gone through the grind of a Big Ten conference season. And that aspect of it to me is huge, because when you don't have anybody that's done it, you don't know how to navigate it, so to speak, in some respects. And it's just tough. And you've got to be set up for it from a physical standpoint. And this basketball team, let's face it, undersized, doesn't have the same physical capabilities as some of these other ball clubs, the same talent level. The one thing you can say about Indiana's team this year, they were great teammates. They were unselfish. They played their butts off. They played as hard as they could. They battled in every ball game, but they just didn't have enough here at the end. And I think the last 6-7 ball games kind of shows exactly what happened to them.
Yeah, and the lack of depth, the lack of having extra guys at extra positions where you get, even if you get, whether it's foul trouble or just running out of being tired, they had really constricted that rotation at the end when you got the same guys going at it, and they just didn't. And you've also got to have, when you're that small of a constricted roster, Don, you've got to have the same guys showing up every night, and they didn't have quite that consistency. But let's talk about Lamar Wilkerson. Man, he barely never showed up. He was always there, and he has done himself quite well.
No question. I think Lamar definitely is going to be drafted in the NBA. There's no doubt in my mind about that. It's just a matter of where he goes, if he goes to the right team, that kind of thing. I mean, Lamar has his weaknesses too, just like everybody does. But he is definitely one of those guys. If you can put the ball in the hole, they're going to give you a shot. There's no question. And he can flat out do that. He had 2 games this year that were absolutely unbelievable, 44 and 41-point ball games. Scoring wise, second in the league in conference scoring, just a terrific player for Indiana this season. And I think he's still got very much a lot of basketball in his background here to play, go through his next phase, whatever that may be, whether that's playing in the NBA or going to Europe or whatever the case may be, or play. He's going to play a lot of basketball for a long time to come. There's no doubt in my mind.
Absolutely. And I think, and even with Darren, I don't mean this negatively. I think he learned that it was playing through the Big Ten season was more than maybe what he expected it to be. The talent level needed to be a little higher. The depth, absolutely, which it's not that he didn't know that, but I think there was just a lot of learning that went on all the way around. But I think they're in a great position to go forward because they're not coming into a completely empty cupboard. They have a great staff, as good a staff, and you can answer this better than I can, but I think this is as good a staff. I don't even know how long that they've had, Don. How long would you all together?
Well, there's no question. I think this is a group that I think what Darren did in this context, he definitely went after guys who could recruit. And I think this is a staff that can really do a great job in that aspect. They got kind of a late start last year, and because of that, they couldn't get all the guys that they were looking for. Maybe couldn't construct the roster exactly the way he wanted to do it. But now they know what they're looking for exactly, and all of these guys will be on the same page in that regard. And I think getting the new director or the executive director of Indiana basketball in Ryan Carr is going to help them immensely as well. So I think they're in great shape in that context. They know what they're going to look for in the portal. They've got 3 really good players coming in for the high school ranks that really should help and probably should be immediate factors on this basketball team. and hopefully all the guys that are eligible to come back do come back. You know, if they get all the guys that, because when the transfer portal opens up, you never know what's going to happen in that regard, who's going to stay and who's going to leave. But at the same time, I think they know how they want to construct this lineup, or at least the roster from the standpoint of what they're looking for to fill next year.
Yeah, and speaking of you mentioned the guys coming back. Trent Sisley, one of those. He got playing time earlier in the year. Didn't get as much later on, and people were really a buzz about it. But I always say, hey, man, there's a reason, and maybe it's just as part of the learning process. I know that being the kind of player that he is, that he knows that this is not just a walk in and become something, that you have to put the work in. And I know that he's willing to do that and will do that. He's one of those types of players. You said something a year or two ago about not having guys. You didn't have guys at the time that were gym rats. That's exactly what he is. He's a gym rat.
Right. And I think he lost his confidence a little bit as the year went on. And when that happens to a freshman, it takes a while to get it back. And, I think he fought through that aspect of it. I think he'll be fine. I can't see him leaving. I'm not saying that he won't, but I can't see him leaving. He's an Indiana kid. He's always wanted to play at Indiana University. I think he's a tremendous talent. I really do. This year was a tough one for him. That being said, he's got 3 more years of eligibility, and I don't think there's any doubt that he will fulfill what we think he's capable of doing.
I agree with you. And who would have thunk that even whether it's a quick end to basketball or not, that football is a conversation. And of course it is. What are we, 2 weeks away, if that, from spring football, Don?
I think it's March 26th is when they have their first practice. I think that's right, in that ballpark.
Yeah, crazy that not that we're talking about it, but that we're talking about it with genuine interest.
No, that started last year, as everybody
well,
knows.
True.
And I got a chance to go down and see a lot of practices in Curt Cignetti's first 2 years at Indiana. Totally enamored with the guy. I don't think there's anybody better in the country. And I think Indiana's going to have another big time run at the CFP and maybe even a national championship. I mean, I think the roster is what Curt Cignetti does with the roster and how he constructs it is about as miraculous as anything you're going to see. And I think, once again, I think he'll be ready. And, he's been talking about it since we had the celebration on the cold day, to celebrate the national championship when we were all out there at Memorial Stadium and freezing our butts off. But he said in that very thing, he says, tomorrow we start anew. And he was absolutely right. And he's been working like crazy ever since.
I think he actually loves it. I mean,
he does.
Of course he loves his job, but I mean, I think he loves the craziness of the time that he puts in.
Oh, that's unheard of, and he's just the best at it. He vets every player. He watches more film than any coach I've ever been around. He loves doing it, and he said it. I mean, he's said it numerous times. I love watching film, and he says that's that's his hobby. That's his hobby. Football is his hobby, and he enthralls himself within it all the time. So, no, it's going to be interesting to see without question, and I'm looking forward to that aspect of it. Yes,
absolutely. And I know what we've got you for a few more weeks, but so what are you going to be focused on here in the next week or two?
Golf.
Not today, you're not, baby.
No, actually, no. I mean, all I'm going to do at this point, I'm catching up on all the crap that I leave undone during the football season and the basketball season, and get back to it. I got to do taxes today. All this mundane stuff that we all have to do year after year after year. So
yuck, I say, mercy. Don Fischer, appreciate you as always, my friend. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and please tell your lovely wife we said hello.
I will do so. Thanks, Jim. See you.
The Don of Broadcasting, Don Fischer, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and as always, we appreciate him as we head into the
off season of basketball. We're heading, as you heard Don say, football. Spring practice. What is today? Today is what, the 16th? A week from this Thursday, Indiana spring practice starts. Everyone's practice starts at different times. They're not all at the same. But hopefully, Indiana is perfectly going to wait till get through this chunky weather, man. I would certainly like to see it rise up. And like I said earlier, we know it's going to climb back up after this unbelievable cold snap that's going to come in, which brought in the funky weather last night. Today's high, yesterday the high was 74. Today's high 32. Tomorrow 29. Crazy. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, Greg Rakestraw joins us back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio and much more right after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Dave & Buster's Bloomington is the place to eat, drink, play, and watch. Enjoy half-price games every Sunday through Thursday, a new menu to dig into, and next-level upgrades like private game suites, the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's Bloomington, 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Glad to have you along with us, joined by our good friend Greg Rakestraw as well after a long weekend of Indiana high school regional action. And man, oh man, few games going on, Greg.
Just a few, but we're down to 32 teams still left playing, and after this coming Saturday, we'll be down to our 8 state finalists at Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
How was your weekend? Busy, a little busy?
It was, because I had 2 great games at Southport, and then we had the pairing show yesterday. And so yesterday, I'd say, was pretty fair afternoon of sports in the state of Indiana. IndyCar race at noon, semi-state pairing show at 2, Purdue in the Big Ten championship game at 3:30, NCAA selection show at 6. So you still had time on the front end and back end to go to church, batten down the hatches so your stuff didn't blow away when that storm rolled through last night. But from noon to 7, pretty impressive, litany of things from a sports standpoint to pay attention to.
Absolutely, and plenty to talk about as well, including the IndyCar race, because we're seeing a completely different season. We'll get to that, but the matter at hand, regional action and more upsets. Well, I don't know if you consider them an upset, but I know Pike was considered one of the teams thought to go in that may end up in the I hate to call it a Final Four, but it is the Final Four, I guess, even though we're in semi-state week. But they go down to Mount Vernon, 57-54.
And that was the game that I had. And those 2 teams now played twice. Both games went to overtime. Both teams won once. both teams won their game by 3 points. And Luke Ertl is something special. It's the second consecutive year that we have had a hands down, no doubt about it, Mr. Basketball, both from Hancock County. First Braylon Mullins and then Luke Ertl. He's going to be special at Purdue. And I realize how ridiculously stupid high the bar is that Braden Smith has set with how he has played over the last 4 years. My goodness, he's 2 assists away from breaking the all-time Division I assist record. So trying to match what he has done at Purdue is a tall task. I'm crazy to think Ertl might be up for it. He had 34 of their 57. They had 4 players scored in Mount Vernon. 2 of them, Max Weiss, who's a junior in 6'8", is probably a low to mid Division I level player, pretty skilled big man, good range in terms of 15 feet mid-range jumper, good mobility in terms of getting to the basket. Between he and Max, they scored 51 of their 57, but Ertl was tremendous. And yes, Jim, your overall point about upsets is correct. And to put this in perspective, there is not a MIC team nor a Hoosier Crossroads Conference team left standing in the semi-state round. That doesn't happen very often. Those 2 conferences really both have been kind of in existence for pretty much the entire history of multi-class basketball. If you go back and look in 2014 and 2015, neither of those 2 leagues were represented in the semi-state. That's back when it was 4 teams that were from the semi-state on. Now we have 8 teams because we flipped the format a couple of years ago. But for those 2 leagues, which basically have, when Carmel and Center Grove officially rejoin, 16 of the 32 largest schools in the state, all based in central Indiana. And when none of them make the semi-state round, it tells you it's been kind of a crazy year, especially at the 4A level. So, Fishers, Pike, Carmel, who beat Fishers, then they got beat by Fort Wayne Snyder at Newcastle on Saturday afternoon. Lawrence North getting sent home. Plainfield didn't get upset, but Plainfield is a top 5 team, had to play another top 5 team in Pike. It is wide open in terms of 4A. And for those that think there are too many state champs that come from the Indianapolis area, Mount Vernon may win the whole thing. And yeah, they're right next to Indianapolis and play a largely Indianapolis schedule. But Frank, we got a chance. It could be New Albany versus Crown Point. It could be Terre Haute North versus Northridge in the 4A final, because there's a lot of permutations and possibilities because the teams that have been knocked off along the way.
You mentioned New Albany. Man, they crush Castle 80-44. I mean, absolutely that's a lot of points to score, but it's also a gigantic margin of victory over a pretty decent team.
Well, I would say this was expected to get New Albany to this point, and now their level of competition maybe has changed a little bit. New Albany's best players are freshmen and sophomores. It's also, though, kind of an open quarter of the bracket where New Albany was clearly the best team. I think the question was going to be whom they were going to draw in the regional. And I thought New Albany would have been favored against any other team in their region that could have been drawn against, with the exception of one. And that is now the team they're going to play in the morning game in the semi-state. And that is Terre Haute North, who is back in the semi-state for a second consecutive year. And last year, to some degree, they were cannon fodder for Lawrence North in the morning game at Newcastle. I don't think that's the case this time around. Todd Wolfley does a heck of a job over at Terre Haute North. Matt Wren's youngest son is a star on that team. Got another young man in Brady Kloppenstein that's going to play at Bellarmine next year. So they have got a talented squad. Doesn't mean that New Albany can't beat them, but it will be a jump up in the level of competition that the Bulldogs have seen so far.
Speaking of Southern Indiana and success, Silver Creek, obviously, they continue to roll a 92-77 win over Batesville to continue their tournament run.
Yeah, correct, Jim. And really, and you probably heard me say this over the last few weeks, there's one team that I think has a chance of beating Silver Creek, and it's Cathedral. And those two teams did not, they didn't draw each other in the morning game. They would see each other in the evening game. Roncalli is the opponent for Silver Creek in the morning game. Cathedral will be in action, opposite them in terms of that contest. They'll play Princeton in their first game in the morning. But Silver Creek has been one of the better teams in the state, bar none, They're the clear favorite in 3A. And frankly, of the last three potential opponents they could play, Cathedral is the one team that I think Cathedral might be able to hang with them. But I would not be surprised if Silver Creek rolls their way to a 3A championship.
I just thought of a T-shirt, man. With Bar Reeve could just say, "We're the best, Bar Reeve."
Well, I'll tell you what, there could be 1A and 2A champs that have very much Amish and Mennonite ties, because Westview's in that similar boat, and it is the same thing. Now, Bar Reeve has to get through a very good Hauser team at some point in time, and Bloomfield has an all-star caliber player in Blake Neal, who has been their all-time leading scorer already for a year, and Bloomfield's had a really great history. So Bar Reeve's outstanding. Bar Reeve could easily make the 1A state championship game, but it is not a done deal that Bar Reeve makes it out of the semi-state, even though it's in their own backyard at the Hatchet House.
It seemed like there was a lot of fun celebrations going on, just because it's not exactly chalk. So a lot of schools getting to celebrate that normally don't get to do that.
Correct. Decatur Central is a first-time semi-state participant. I know in 1A Tri-County is a first-time semi-state participant. I think North Vermilion is in the semi-state for the first time since 1969. So we do have some different schools. Northridge is a first-time semi-state participant. Scott Radiker does a great job up there. Brady Scholl is their star player, kind of an old-school 6'7" post. Going to go to Indiana Wesleyan and play at the NAI level. He is a potential Indiana All-Star as well. So you may see some repeat traffic in terms of teams that make it to a state championship game, but there is a whole lot of new this time around, Jim.
Looking forward to it as well. You mentioned IndyCar earlier. Man, what a different this season already is. Are we 3 or 4 races in?
3 races in, and frankly, story number 1 is that we have had one sort of new event, because they went back to Phoenix for the first time in 8 years, put on a great show there last week, and then had a brand new event. And I think you're going to see potentially more events like this. In other words, there is an F1 race that is ran around Hard Rock Stadium where the Dolphins play. The Dallas Cowboys go, we'd like to have one of those.
For Indiana's football, when Indiana's football national championship this year, that track was set up.
Correct. And so the Dallas Cowboys go, hey, we've got our stadium. Texas Rangers play across the parking lot. Could we do something like that here? They're not going to get Formula One, because Formula One runs at the Circuit of the Americas down the road in Austin, Texas, later in the year. So it became, well, let's stage an IndyCar event. And by all accounts, from a crowd standpoint, that went exceedingly well. They actually bumped the race up about a half an hour or so, because they were dealing with the same issues that we were yesterday in terms of crazy winds, trying to get people out of there safely, and still had really good attendance. And as temporary street circuits go, it was thought to be a really good race. But Jim, it's been 3 races to start this season in 3 consecutive weeks, which is phenomenal, because oftentimes there's been St. Petersburg, then you wait 2 or 3 weeks, or there's been St. Petersburg, and then you have another race and you wait 2 or 3 weeks. No, you have hit people with races 3 successive weekends. That's good. And you have had 3 different winners. That's good. Cal Kirkwood got the race win yesterday. Alex Palou was in contention. He was not. He was knocked out early in the race last week. But the fact that, and again, Palou is a great story and a wonderful driver, but you've largely had points championships settled about 2 or 3 months into the season, more often than not the last few years. And so the fact that it's been very competitive here in the early stages of the year, I think that's a good thing for everybody involved.
Oh, absolutely. Like you said, the 3 different winners in the first 3 races are gigantic, because last year Palou won, 5 out of the first 6 races and finished second in the race that he didn't win.
Correct. No, he was chasing history, which in and of itself made it interesting to say, hey, is this the best season in the history of the sport? And it was close. He was probably AJ Foyt winning 10 times in 64 is number 1. You could argue Palou was second in the history of the 75-year history of major open wheel professional racing in this country. But if you're looking for different winners, looking for more competitive races, so far you're liking what you're seeing in 2026.
And you talked about the track configuration down in Arlington around the stadiums. We've seen NASCAR add the Chicago track, and while they didn't go back after a few years, it was more about expense probably, but it was very, very popular. It was very well received in a non-area of NASCAR area. So this seems to be a very popular way for auto racing, period, in America.
Well, it's twofold. All right. One, you are creating events. So these things all have concerts. You know, in the Chicago case, you would come downtown, hang out all day. Racing was part of what you did. Here, it's a bit more suburban, but still, you come to an area and you meet the drivers. You walk around the track. They had concert schedule again. Wind kind of changed what the plan was going to be, yesterday for that event. But still, by everybody that was on the ground, they said it was wildly successful and had great media coverage all week long in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, which is nice that you can be in that much of a major metropolitan area. The other thing is that the visuals tend to be really cool. Now, the way the track was laid out, you got to see the Rangers ballpark. You got to see the Cowboys ballpark. Anytime you've got racing downtown, like being able to see the Chicago skyline when they had their street event the last couple of years, that's cool. That's obviously one of the selling points for the IndyCar, doing for lack of a better term, the Freedom 250, the event that's been put together in DC as part of the, quarter 1,000-year celebration of U.S. history. That's going to be the extra race that's been added to be able to see all of the monuments in the background as those cars are flying by however fast they're going to go. That's one of the things that will really hook people in August. So, frankly, this is now going to be the way of the world. And if motorsports is to grow, you're going to see a lot more events like this than just a standard road course or just a standard oval track.
Yeah, and it's cool. I agree, because it just adds just such uniqueness, and it's uniqueness that can change every year, as opposed to having these tracks that are not that the historic tracks are great, but when you can literally change the background at your will. That's pretty cool.
Right. And I think the thing that the IndyCar series has that is unique, and NASCAR now does this more than they used to, but I can hear the late, great Robin Miller's voice talking about what made kart back in the day so great 30 years ago is that you had the combination of super speedways, short ovals, road courses, and street circuits. No series in the world had that sort of variety. We don't race many super speedways anymore. That's become a bit passé from an open wheel standpoint, other than the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But the return of Phoenix adds another short oval where the racing is really good. Obviously, there is a mix of road course and street circuits, and that's one of the selling points that IndyCar has to offer, is that our drivers race on more different surfaces than any other series in the world. That's really something you can hang your hat on if you're the IndyCar series.
Absolutely. And it's great for the series. It's great for all of it, because it continues to grow the series in it of itself, not just the Indianapolis 500. And I know that that's something you're always fighting for that superiority in American sports, superiority in auto racing, period.
Correct. I think IndyCar is in a far better position than they have been in a long time. At the same time, F1 has had a resurgence in this country. There are 3 events that take place now in the U.S. between Vegas, Austin, and Miami. And NASCAR, I think, has rebounded after having some doldrums for a while. But even when NASCAR was at a low point, it still drew significantly more eyeballs and interest than IndyCar on an average basis, which is why I thought last weekend was a good thing. Again, for those who don't follow the sport, IndyCar race was on Saturday, the NASCAR raced on Sunday, and they were both at Phoenix. And because of television contracts, maybe you can do that one more time during the course of the year. It's going to happen in February, March, April, or May, because that is when Fox has the rights to NASCAR. And again, for those who don't follow the series, Fox is now the 1/3 owner of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the 1/3 owner of the NTT IndyCar series. So, and from a marketing and promotion standpoint, You are seeing the power of the Fox affiliation over the last couple of years, and that is a good thing. So things are going in the right direction, and there is still work to do if you're a fan of American open wheel racing.
We'll keep an eye on it, brother. What is up next for you? I know the basketball season continues.
Correct. I've got 2 more weeks of high school hoops. So I've got the semi-states. I'll be at Newcastle for action on Saturday. Then obviously state finals, March 28th at Gamebridge Fieldhouse. But this is also when I start to drift back towards outdoor sports. So like my first college baseball game of the season is supposed to be tomorrow. The high temperature is 29. So I'm not sure I'm going to see Illinois and Indiana State and Terre Haute on ESPN Plus. That might get postponed. I also have Indy 11 season starting up. Forecast looks significantly better for Saturday when I go do Indy 11 in Detroit. So I still have basketball for a couple of weeks, but Jim, I'm starting to flip that calendar to going back outdoors with spring on the doorstep.
Yeah, we just got to get past these next couple of days, Greg.
Right.
It's coming right back up, but I'm like, I can do without it.
I'll run the risk. I'll give you the AccuWeather forecast as to how it looks since I'm in my car in Broad Ripple right now. Snow collecting on the trampoline outside as we speak. So you can tell that there's a slight bit of accumulation picking up on the near north side of Indianapolis.
There's your Acculean forecast from our buddy Greg Rakestraw from the ISC Sports Network. Appreciate you, my friend.
Talk to you next week.
Absolutely. Plenty more to come up. We're not going anywhere just yet. Greg Rakestraw there as a lot to talk about, man. IndyCar racing going on. It's fun with 3 different winners in 3 races so far this season. That is cool. As we're a month, we're 6 weeks from the month of May, people. It's crazy. Crazy. Yeah. You wouldn't think so with the temperatures that are here today, but they'll be rebounding, luckily. So, someone asked something earlier and I missed it. Someone asked, did Purdue deserve a number 2 seed? Well, hell yes, they deserved a number 2 seed. You just went through and won one of the toughest conference tournaments that there was, period. And you've played, I don't care that, what they lose, 6 games all year? Yeah, it's absolutely. I knew when you win the Big Ten tournament, that's a tough road to hoe. And this is the 18-team Big Ten tournament. They played 4 games in 4 days. I'm not discounting what they did. They absolutely deserved it. They climbed into that spot. That's how you do that. Play the best basketball of the year when you need to. And they are absolutely playing their best hoops of the season. But it wasn't just obviously the Big Ten yesterday that was going at it. We had all kinds of men's action. Make sure I'm on the right one. But get to the scores from around Division I. Let's see. That was Purdue beat Michigan 80-72, of course, was the final. How about Arkansas? They win the SEC tournament 86-75 over Vanderbilt. Those are not the 2 names that people expected to be talking about in that tournament. Now, Purdue and Michigan, they're the exact 2 names. As a matter of fact, those are the 2 teams I picked at the beginning of the year, I think, at the top of the Big Ten. So you had that, but those were the only top 25 games going on. I think the Big 12 finished up theirs on the day before. Yeah, Duke beat Virginia. Now, Virginia's a sneaky team to look out for. They're good. Arizona and Houston went at it. Arizona wins that game 79-74. Houston's still good, but Arizona looking really, really strong. Vanderbilt knocked off Florida to get to the championship. That's a huge win. And they didn't just beat them, they beat the snot out of them, 91-74. St. John's. Okay, wasn't it a week or so ago that UConn beat St. John's by like 1,000. Yeah, well, St. John's beat UConn by 20 in the Big East tournament final. Go figure. Arkansas got by Chris Beard and Ole Miss in overtime, 93-90. Purdue managed to get by UCLA on Saturday to make it to the Big Ten championship game, while Wisconsin was able to get by Wisconsin, who is shooting lights out from three. They're going to be a good team to pair in your tournament field. 68-65 was that final. So that's a lot of good games. That's a lot of good games that we got to watch. And then you had now we have 3 weeks of the NCAA tournament coming up, beginning this week with the play-in games. We'll talk about all of that as well. Who gets to do what? Who's your pick? The SEC put 10 teams in, I believe. Big Ten, 9. Yeah, we thought that they would get 10 teams in, but with the way it fell apart there at the end, couldn't get the 10th team in, and that would have been Indiana. But they were not in the first 4 out. They were last in the next 4 out, I believe. So, yeah. Auburn did not make it in. It was so funny, too, listening to CBS prior when they had Bruce Pearl on. Just still wouldn't give it up. It's like, shut up. Well, they played the toughest schedule in the conference or in the country. I don't think they were rewarded because they didn't beat any of them. No, I'm not going to say they didn't beat any of them, but you played 33 games or something, and you were 1 game over 500. I'm sorry. No, you don't get in. But it was, and how they were just acquiescing to him and just, don't give people like that a profile, a platform that you can't go back on, but go back at them on because it's crap. But Brian says IU was in the never in out group. There you go. Well, it faded fast because the bubble, while very weak, grew stronger all of a sudden. And as the end came near, you had a lot of teams that had been on the bubble that none of them got in. So the bubble strengthened up a little bit as you got closer to it, which is good. What you want to see. That is what you want to see. You don't want it to see it just stay and people are getting in by default. People earn their way in. So, yeah, good. Looking forward to it. I liked it a lot more this year than people backing their way in to this tournament. And no, Indiana will not be playing in the Crown or any other tournament, as which they don't need to be. They need to focus on next year, which they know that. So that's where their focus will be featured towards building next season's team, getting it together right now. We're going to get it together right now. More coming up. And we're going to be back with it right after these messages.
Indiana football accomplished what no other team ever has. Big Ten, Rose Bowl, Peach Bowl, and CFP national champions. The Hoosiers have etched their name into the history books as the first 16-0 team in the modern era. A limited edition of only 5,000 commemorative national championship footballs has been released. 3 full panels embossed and stamped with every championship logo and fully licensed. Get your piece of history today at NICOsports.com. That's NIKCOSPORTS.com. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISP Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Bored, Bloomington? Dave and Buster's can fix that. Eat and drink your way through our all-new menu. Play half-price games every Sunday through Thursday. Watch all your team's wins on a 40-foot screen and 30 HD TVs. And level all up with the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game. Private game suites, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's on 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. We are in the middle of basketball heaven as the NCAA tournament about to begin. After all the major conferences come to a close, Duke, your #1 seed in the East, Arizona out west, Florida in the Southeast, and Michigan in the Midwest. Perfect mix, you got it. SEC, Big 10, Big 12, and ACC. That's how it should be. 4 #1 seeds, 4 conference, the four best teams of the conferences. Now, Florida kind of bounced their way in. I'm not saying they're not deserving. You know, Houston wins that last game, they're in. UConn doesn't get destroyed. They could have been in. Purdue, they couldn't have climbed. Purdue climbed all that they were going to climb, but a successful climb to the #2 spot, likely knocking another Big Ten team down a rung, to be honest with you, as Purdue has that #2 in the West, though. Yikes. And boy, they probably would have rather have gone elsewhere, but it is what it is. #2 in Michigan's bracket, Iowa State. A little sneaky Iowa State. Which #1 seed goes down? Well, Michigan having lost, Florida just lost. Arizona and Duke both won their conference tournament. So 2 of them won going in, 2 of them lost going in. What does that mean historically? Not a lot. I don't know what the historical record of that is, but it happens plenty, especially when you haven't played in days or whatnot. Yeah, it's going to happen. Purdue got hot. I was surprised to see them beat Michigan, but they have been playing extraordinarily hot. I said this earlier, and I mean it. I think that Braden Smith, when he decided to go, I don't know what the decision was, but it appeared that he decided to go record hunting, because all of a sudden he's throwing 16 assists out during the Big Ten tournament. So that was obviously a focus.
I mean, he obliterated the assist record during this year's Big Ten tournament. That was a focus, not him scoring. Well, that worked out for Purdue. Whoever thought of that or whatever, it worked out in their best interest. And that's something I would continue to do if I were them, because it just seemed to open things up. You've got four guys that you really have to focus on for scoring, and you've got to keep up with him because he is driving the bus at a high rate of speed. So he's going to become the all-time assist leader without question. He will replace Bobby Hurley. Both got to play with Players of the Year. One won back-to-back national titles and one didn't, but it's a great individual award that will stand probably forever. This is a record we probably didn't see would get broken in today's era, but this is probably one of the last. Never say never. Rules could change. Things could change in the future. So, but that's going to be a long stander, baby. Russell says IU doesn't play past seasons, and that's, I don't understand what that one is. I missed a comment there. It's going to take me a day or two. Arizona is going to be tough for me to not pencil in to win it all. They've been so consistent. Duke beat Michigan head to head. You've got that going for you. Doesn't mean a lot. One game. Florida, I don't see getting back. Although they managed to get a number one seed, I don't see Houston as the toughest number two seed, although their guard plays amazing, but they're led by freshmen. The thing of Purdue, I don't see them upsetting like Arizona. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but I just don't see that. Michigan's going to have to rebound. You got to get it back together. But I think the one thing about losing a game like that is it does give you the few things that, hey, why did we lose that game? Because they have played so well all season long. Will you lose 2 games all year to conference opponents? Yeah, that's pretty good. Andy thinks it'll be chalky at the Final Four. Relatively, but also there are just a lot of teams that are good, and on any given day, St. John's, they're a team. You get hot. Wisconsin is a team that you catch them on the wrong day, you're in trouble. Early matchup, second round, Wisconsin, Arkansas. Hello. There's something to look forward to. That's out in the West. Let's see. BYU. Gonzaga, that's not tantalizing to me. Although Gonzaga has a higher seed. Gonzaga's a 3 seed. I think BYU is the better team. We'll see. Purdue should make it to, they should make it to the Sweet 16. Miami of Florida and Malik Renew, although he could beat Purdue again. Michigan, they've got Georgia in their bracket.
That's an easy, should be an easy walkthrough. Alabama and Texas Tech. I think that is also an easy walkthrough. Iowa State, I like how tough they play. Kentucky got in as a 7 seed. Virginia's my sneaky team out of that Midwest bracket, although they're on the bottom. Would not be surprised to see Virginia ending up playing Michigan at the end of that in the Elite Eight. Wouldn't mind that at all. That would be kind of cool. Now, the Southeast, I think, is just interesting. I think the Southeast is the most wide open that we have. We'll talk more about it and plenty more when we come back. Dustin Dopirak is going to join us from the Indy Star. You know, the NBA season's still rolling on as the Pacers, they're doing their best. They didn't make the NCAA tournament either. So we've got that we can talk about and plenty more. Back with Indiana Sports Beat Radio and Dustin Dopirak right after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Dave & Buster's Bloomington is the place to eat, drink, play, and watch. Enjoy half-price games every Sunday through Thursday, a new menu to dig into, and next-level upgrades like private game suites, the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's Bloomington, 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday, joined by our good friend Dustin Dopirak. And breaking news here, Dustin. It appears that the Pacers have been eliminated from playoff contention for the NBA playoffs in this season.
Breaking news, Jim. Totally new. Nobody saw it coming either. I mean,
I know. Who would have thunk it, man? Who would have thunk it?
We're going to have to really, interrogate those sources, basically. I'm sure.
Telling you. Well, this is the first day that they have actually put it up there. I saw that. And I'm like,
it's been up for a while.
Oh, has it? At least the one I saw. This is the first time I've seen it. I thought it was funny. But
they've been eliminated since Tuesday. Yes.
Been eliminated since the season began, I believe.
In essence, yes. But mathematically, they've been eliminated for 6 days.
But they're doing very well in their efforts to not be as good as that fans had liked for them to have been originally before the injuries started, if that makes sense. They're dead last right now, baby.
They're successfully tanking, is what you're saying. 13 in a row.
I would never use that language. I don't even know what that means, but
I'm not going to say it. I know I said it, but I mean, I'm not going to full out make the accusation. But yesterday, Aaron Neesmith had 32 points in 3 quarters and didn't play the 4th. So
he was tired. He did. That's a lot of work in 3 quarters, man.
He did. It was butter. He was 7 of 10 from 3. He was ripping. He was absolutely. He would have gladly played 3 games yesterday.
Probably in a minutes restriction after all that exertion.
That's true. 30. That takes a lot out of a man. Yeah, I mean, they do. Rick does continue to point out they do have 5 games in 7 days, and so the league has been informed that they plan to kind of stagger who they use and who they don't over the course of 5 games in 7 days, and that's it is a tough battle, but it's also they would be playing guys if they were winning, and they're not, and they're out. So it is what it is. But yeah, so they are playing Ivica Zubac now. So that's been a development. It's been, been fun to watch. He's an impressive player, and they're, seeing exactly how they're going to integrate him. You're not going to know, Siakam's been out, and obviously Halliburton's out, so you don't see how he was going to play with those guys, but you get a sense of what kind of player he is. And I've got an idea having watched him before, but it's been interesting to kind of see him just begin to get used to the guys he's going to be playing with, for the Pacers. So they got him out on the floor. Got an Ivica Zubac versus Miles Turner, matchup yesterday. That was fun to watch. I mean, definitely you see the clash of styles of sort of what they gave up and, what they gave up in the offseason and what they picked up at this trade deadline. So, they are going to miss the outside shooting that Miles Turner had. Miles hit 3 threes yesterday, but Zubac is pretty dominant around the rim, and he had, I think, 10 points, mostly just going to the basket. Zubac is a better rebounder. Turner's probably a little bit better shot blocker. Might end up a wash at the end, but they also had to trade 3 draft picks, Benedict Mathurin and Isaiah Jackson, to get Zubac. And, maybe that would have been worth a few more $1 million for Miles, but this is where it sits. This is where it is, and you'll see how it goes, I guess, in the future.
Yeah, 14 games remaining in the season schedule, 7 each way, home and away. I assume you're in New York at the moment.
Oh, no.
Nope.
I'm not going to New York. We are cutting down the travel. I am in Milwaukee. I'd love to know when I'm getting out of Milwaukee. It's rough out there.
Wow. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. Holy moly.
Yeah, the term used last night was blizzard, so I don't know if
well, blizzard's better than bomb blizzard, I think. At least I don't like the word bomb involved in any storm that I'm going to be in.
Or anything at all, honestly.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah, no, in most cases, if it's not a football term, I don't really want to hear it at all. If whether it's metaphorical or actual, I don't. Yeah, not a thing that you want.
So the Pacers are supposedly going to be. Well, they probably were able to get out, I assume.
They sure did. Rick might have flown the plane. I don't know. Somebody had to write and stuff, and they're going to New York. I'm not going to New York.
Ironically, the last wins that the Pacers had were
in New
over
York.
2 York teams, not just the Knickerbockers, but also the Nets in Brooklyn. They won back-to-back games on the road, no less. So tanking, schmanking. What are you talking about, baby?
That was before the All-Star break. Things have changed.
Yeah, I was trying to.
Things have changed. Yeah, that was toward the end. They were just holding guys out when it was the second nights of back-to-backs, and they beat Brooklyn on the second night of back-to-back with most of their guys out. But Brooklyn also doesn't need to win, so that was a little different. Now it does seem more. The measures are different currently.
Plus, I wonder how many of the remainder teams they have of those are playoff contending teams, or
a bunch. That's the thing. They are going to have some leeway to actually play for a while in some of these games. I mean, they gave the Knicks a run the other night. Actually, they only lost by like 9 to the Knicks the other night. And they left their guys in for most of that. Funk handled that one like they were very much trying to win it. They might do that again tomorrow night in New York, but they do get Portland on a second night of a back-to-back on Wednesday. I do not expect to see a whole lot of guys that you can win with on the floor in that game. But then they've got San Antonio and Orlando. After that, I think it's all. Yeah, I mean, the only team that's actually, no. I mean, Portland's a playoff team. The only team they have left on the list that isn't in the top 10 in their conference is Brooklyn on April 9th. So everybody else, I think, has at least Chicago. That's another one. Let me make sure I've got this right here. I think the Bulls aren't in full, give up mode. They're 27-40. They're 7 back. 6.5 back of the Hornets for the 10th spot. So they're not totally dead yet. And the Hornets are 10th. Portland's 10th in their league, and they've got like an 8-game lead over Memphis. So I think Chicago and Brooklyn are the last 2 teams they have that are currently not in playoff position, and Brooklyn is the only team left they have that is eliminated. So that's where it stands.
It's exciting. It's riveting. It's so weird to cover 2 teams, one that goes undefeated to win a national championship, and now covering one that is trying to lose as much as possible, with reason. But it's the oddity of sports.
Yeah. I mean, and just this team, like it was in the NBA Finals last year, and it was in the Eastern Conference Finals the year before, and 3 years ago, they played. They were like 37-45, and I think I've said multiple times about this team was the happiest 37-45 team I've ever seen, or the happiest 8 games under 500 team I've ever seen, because I mean they could sense it, and they really played. Wasn't until like the last week of that season they kind of pulled the plug on it. They gave Halliburton and Miles Turner some time off that might not have been necessary. But they played, went after it most of that season just to get an idea of how good that team was. And I realized, okay, but it doesn't need to make the postseason, and we'd be better off getting one more player. And they did, Jarris Walker. Walker only played so much on that team, but he's been valuable, particularly this year, and done a lot of growing up. So, there was some value in deciding, hey, let's, discretion is the better part of valor here. But this year was star-crossed from the beginning. It was literally, obviously not only did you have Halliburton with the Achilles tear in the previous season, but you had McConnell get hurt in preseason, and then you got Nembhard got hurt on game 1. Mathurin got hurt on game 2. Toppin got hurt on game 3. Toppin just got back. All those guys missed a whole bunch of time. They were 2-16 to start. Even when Neesmith sprains a knee, and even when they got everybody back, they couldn't win. They were 6-31. So when you're 6-31, it's over. You're not digging out of that. And you're 25 games under 500 by the first, week of January. What are you going to do? So it is what it is. And so I get the approach here. And they are still, everybody is dinged up with something. I mean, for as much as I shouldn't, say tanking as though it's a fact, but I mean, they're obviously giving guys a lot of space to heal when they have stuff that's minor, that if they were contending, they might say, hey, put some ice on that, and run back in it. And it's obviously more complicated than that, but they would be giving guys full day treatment to get back from some of these injuries. They're not. Or I don't know what they are, but one way or another, it's not. They're not rushing anybody back. They gave Zubac a whole month to heal that ankle, basically, that he'd played on for a month, more or less. And he got back and they said, this isn't fully healed. So guess what? We're not in a shape where you have to play every night. So go ahead and take your month to get it back healthy. And it is. So there's some value there. But certainly decisions are being made that are different than they would be if they were contending. So it is a trip. And yeah, I mean, guy gets 32 points and is on a bender, doesn't usually sit out the fourth quarter when you're losing.
No, that's usually a streak you like to ride, but yeah, he could have. That way, you can't be accused of tanking on prop bets and that kind of stuff, and that's probably something. Yeah, that's something that they probably have to be weary of, because you're not purposely doing that, but you could accidentally be doing that.
Sure. I mean, it is something they got to think about. It's supposedly not supposedly. Somebody reported, and I don't know that anybody trusts this, but somebody reported that Silver was getting pressure from Adam Silver was getting pressure from the gambling companies that are, that are sponsoring the league, basically about some of the behavior that was considered tanking. So they, I think, I don't know if that's true, basically, and there's not been a whole lot of added reporting on that. And I don't know if Silver, for as much as obviously it's important for what, that money is important for what everybody's doing. That's keeping a lot of the lights on in a lot of places these days. I don't know that the NBA would jump for that reason, but I get why Silver, kind of jumped a little bit and said, okay, we've got to find somebody to stop some of this stuff. But yeah, I mean, it definitely does mess with prop betting for sure. I'm sure bettors I know bettors aren't happy. I mean, there's definitely been some that have shown up in my mentions from time to time, being like, the Pacers should be investigated for this or whatever. I don't know what you're going to investigate. Rick Carlisle came out and said the other day, I mean, he made a point of saying this, that he's told the league everything about what they plan to do, that kind of thing. Basically, they're in touch on a constant basis as to who's hurt, who's in, who's out, where everybody stands, and the league is sort of aware of everything they're doing going forward. So
that's all you can do. Hey, be upfront, be honest, and
sure.
you've got it going. But it is what it is. I mean, you lose your best player. I mean, it's just
sure.
It's part of the deal, but it's something that the Pacers can also look and say, hey, we've never done this. We've never been even accused of this, no matter what. So I don't have a problem with it. It is the way it is, and it worked out perfectly. Right. Sometimes things work out the way they do.
Well, it'll work. I mean, it won't know if it worked out perfectly until you get to May 10th in the lottery. So they're either.
And that's another thing. You can't guarantee your place by this. You can only be in the neighborhood.
Right. And their pick is conditional. It's got to be top 4. If it's not top 4, they don't get to keep it. Because they can't get, they would get it if they were between 10th and 30, but they can't win enough games to get to 10th, basically. So, they've got that pick that they traded conditionally to the Clippers. So if they don't win the lottery, it goes to LA. So you don't know if it works out until lottery day, and you find out how those things shake out and whether that matches your lottery tickets. And, if you get anywhere 1 to 4, then you get one of those dudes. And if you don't get anybody. But you have to, in that case, you're saying, all right, Zubac, we're better off having Zubac than they are having, anybody they could have picked from 5 to 9. And they are at the end of the day. I think they will look at that and say, okay, we were better off having Zubac than if it ends up being 5 or 6 or 7 or what they would have had. Then, they probably would have been, they needed a starting ready everyday center than they more than they would anybody that they would get in those spots. So there's your Acuffs, your Keaton Wagglers, your Mikal Browns, who's the other one I'm thinking of who I keep forgetting? Oh, Kingston Flemings. Most of those guys are point guards, the guys that are going to go that high. So, those are a lot of guys they wouldn't miss. Now, I mean, Acuff's good enough that he might be a guy that you just draft and say, okay, yeah, you can play next to Halliburton, you can play next to anybody. He's just a dude. I think he has just helped himself so much. But a lot of
Darren Peterson, has he gotten better? He's starting to play a little more.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that the flashes that you see are still they when you see him run around and do his best stuff, you're like, okay, that's really good. Like that, like when you see it in flashes, I mean, it does seem like currently in terms of just sort of the chatter that you hear, and this is just chatter, and it could obviously change by the combine, and when they get a real sense of whatever physical thing he's dealing with, then that will change one way or the other. But DeBonce has been fantastic, and Boozer's been fantastic. Boozer's been incredible. So the two of them, I think, I like. With Boozer, it's positional fit. You got to need what Boozer has, I think, just because I think he is so mature. He is so physically mature and so mentally mature that you're also looking at that and saying, okay, well, how much room is there to grow? Like there's room to get to be a better basketball player always, but from a physical standpoint, you look at Boozer and you're like, you're pretty maxed out, like in terms of what you're going to be physically, you look 22, like you don't look like there's a whole lot of place to put stuff. And
I don't know what his game is.
What's that? Yeah. He's really good.
What his game is.
It's really good. And I mean, he's going to be a real good player, but you look at him and you say, okay, well, like you're muscled up. You look like a grown man, like you're going to be a little bit more toned when you get, into an NBA schedule and stuff like that. And, like like NBA strength conditioning, strength training is different, like in the sense, because it's like, once you get in the season, man, like it's not, you don't have, like it's more about rest than it is about, like you do get in the gym and lift, but like you're not lifting to put stuff on at that point, like you're lifting to maintain. And so, it's like you're pretty there, in terms of what you're going to be, from a physical development standpoint. But you look at Dustin and you're like, well, there's space to put stuff, like that guy looks like he's like Dustin has a not normal 18-year-old, but like he looks like he's 18, like it's a lot of wingspan, it's a lot of arms and legs, like it's some muscle tone, but not so much, but like Boozer looks like a grown man. So you look at Dustin.
Yaxel Lindeborg too.
Oh, he will. No, he will. I mean, he's not going to be a top 5 pick, but he'll be top 15. It's a question of whether, he might be top 10. It depends on who's picking. But he's going to be real good. He's going to be real good. So I like it is going to be somebody that's a little bit further back. Like I think the top 4 are set as to who they're going to be. It's going to be Devonta Peterson, Boozer. Caleb Wilson, I think, is going 4th no matter what happens. There might be some teams that can't use him for whatever reason, but I think Boozer, Devonta Peterson are going to go 1 to 3 in some order, and Caleb Wilson is going to be the guy that like if you end up picking 4th, it's kind of easy. You're just like, all right, well, you guys can argue over those 3. I'll take that 4th guy. Like he looks pretty good. But after that, it's like, look at, it's Flemings, it's Acuff, it's Keaton Wagler, it's Michael Brown Jr. from Louisville. But Lindeberg is right there, and Lindeberg he's been one of the first bigs off the table, if he's not the first. And so, I mean, he's really played himself into this. Michigan's been fantastic, and they had a big shot the other day. Who'd they beat? Was it the Ohio State game that was real tight?
Yeah.
He had a really big 3 in that one, and they're all running together because it's conference tournament week, and he was covering NBA games in the middle of that. But Lindeberg looked, he looks really good. What did his numbers end up?
He's just been one of the reasons Michigan has been so solid all year long too.
Big Ten Player of the Year, I knew that. I just 15.3 and or 14.4 and 7.0, like that's really good. And those numbers actually weren't as good. Well, he was at UAB before that. He's older than I thought. Okay, I thought he was younger. I didn't realize that he's a 5th-year guy, but he's definitely helped himself a whole lot. I mean, he's a 6-year guy going back to JUCO, so that age will hold him back a little bit. But what he did, shot 34% from 3. He's at 34.5 for his career. 49 threes this year. That goes a long way. He doubled the volume that he had last year in UAB. So yeah, an 82% free throw shooter. That makes a big difference when you're that big. Like he is going to be taken pretty high. Top 15 seems pretty reasonable, and he is a guy that you can be able to plug and play. 6'9", 230. You stick them in there as a 4 or a small ball 5 who can spread it and spread out and shoot it a little bit. Like he is going to be a real nice NBA player.
Just like you're a real nice writer.
I try to be. Thank you.
No, I'm kidding. You're a great writer. Hey, we've got more coming up. Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star. Let's talk some NCAA ball as the tournament is set. Dustin Dopirak with us, back with plenty more right after these messages.
Dave & Buster's Bloomington is the place to eat, drink, play, and watch. Enjoy half-price games Sunday through Thursday, plus a new menu and next-level upgrades like private game suites and the high-flying human crane. Only at Dave & Buster's Bloomington on South College Mall Road.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
You're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area? You need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Bored, Bloomington? Dave & Buster's can fix that. Eat and drink your way through our new menu. Play half-price games every Sunday through Thursday. Watch your teams on the big screen and level it all up with the high-flying human crane. Private game suites and more, only at 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday, getting your week off started hopefully well, not warm, but well. And it's going to get colder before it gets warmer, but it'll be back by the end of the week. Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star joining us. Used to be following Dustin and all of his great coverage, especially regarding the Indiana Pacers, because next year, hello.
Should be different.
I bet you should be excited. You have to be excited about what's coming next year.
I mean, yeah, after watching this, it's going to be very, very refreshing, obviously. And so, like I understand this, and to extent, like there's an extent to which, like, I don't, it's not necessarily enjoyable to watch, but it is like, I have like a defend to the death your right to do it feel to it. Because it's like,
harder. It's a lot harder of a job right now than
writing. It's
it
not
is.
fun at all. But I'm saying for the Pacers, it's like, okay, like, if you're to say, all right, proven, not proven, whatever, like the bottom line is like they have the right to handle this the way they want to handle it. I mean, this was a season where they were star-crossed from the beginning. Like literally, like you lose your superstar on the brink of at least challenge, darn near winning the whole thing. I mean, like you don't know what kind of game that would have been if Halliburton doesn't get hurt. He had 3 threes already. I've said in the past that part of the reason why he got hurt in the first place is he felt too good. I mean, he was super careful on it in Game 6. And in Game 7, I think he kind of felt like everything was fine. And, there were some moves that he didn't think about avoiding it's
kind of hard to, though, because
it is. At a certain point, if you don't, it's not one of those injuries that yells at you, like.
Well, it's not just that, because you're in the moment. You're in the moment.
You're in the moment.
Your goal is to either score, to get the ball to this guy, or dive, whatever the case is. You're trying
to win the whole
instinct.
thing. You're trying to win the whole thing. You know that you can define, your legacy. And I do think, LeBron James was right. They had him on, LeBron had Tyrese on his Mind the Game podcast. And he said, like all of the sort of respect and everything that you would have got from winning the championship, you got, even though you lost, because everybody noticed that you, like you risked it all. And, like in a manner of speaking, I mean, obviously it's not like he loses the contract or anything, he's still getting $45 million this year to rehab. But all the same, it's like, okay, like you lost the whole season. You couldn't read. Couldn't read. I couldn't play at all. And like you gambled on all of that, and basically like just the fact that you even tried made a huge difference. So he was going to go all out, and there was things. I mean, like he something mentioned at one point, like what really gets you is the negative step. Like when you kind of put a lot of weight on your back foot and try to drive. You kind of like let that leg go back, and then you flex it. Like that's when like guys that have calves that are not in a good place, that's when they tear their Achilles. That's where it happens. And you could see him avoid that in game 6, where he was really careful about how he was stepping and how he was driving. In game 7, he was like, man, I'm going, like I got 3 threes already. Today's the day.
You know how your knuckles pop?
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a time for a while that I kept getting that feeling in one of my Achilles. And you want to talk about a lightning bolt of fear going through you constantly. I was like, stop, don't move, don't. Right. I went away, never had an issue, but it was very odd. It was an odd feeling, but I never, it was stopped me in my tracks every time. It was like, oh, stop, don't even move. It's crazy. It's crazy injury.
So a year from now, there's going to be, and I do keep saying,
how about this? Indianapolis's top 2 professional stars go down with Achilles injuries.
Yeah, I mean it's been a rough year for Indy, but like Daniel Jones getting one. Like they're not their top 2 professional stars. Let's remember that there is.
Well, you know what I'm saying. Of the
men, yes, of men. Yeah.
Yes. The 2 of those 2 sports.
Right. Yeah. No.
She got a different damn injury.
She did. She had an ankle. She had her own issues, but no, the number 1 professional athlete as far as popularity, success, whatever, is Caitlin Clark.
Without
let's not
question.
Yeah, it's not close. But all the same, it was not a fun year from an injury. 2025 was not a fun year from an injury standpoint for Indianapolis-based professional athletes. So but no, anyway, it is going to be interesting. I am going to be intrigued to see what Halliburton looks like, how his game changes. Jason Tatum and DeJounte Murray have been pretty successful so far coming back from their Achilles. Tatum was a little bit ahead of schedule. Halliburton was joking online about what it's like to watch those guys. He did one of the SpongeBob memes of one of the characters looking out a window and seeing his friends jumping around and playing while he's in the darkness. And so, he's obviously, ready to get back. I guess he's back with the team with shingles, but I didn't see him yesterday. So I guess he went to New York. And I guess he was in Milwaukee, but I don't know if he's being around people yet.
We could get our buddy Fulton Mraz. He's our Special Olympian basketball player, all around athlete. He's even an actor. He is up for a part in Annie. I don't know how we'll have to find out how that went, but just want to give him a shout out.
Oh, great!
And he also wants to always make sure that the Pacers know he is available and ready to enter the draft if needed.
If needed, just in case. Well, yeah.
Just throwing it out there. Throwing it out there. The NCAA tournament, man. I know that you don't get a lot of chance to watch all that, but luckily some of the games are so you can. This is going to be a fun one, I think. But I still see, the teams at the top. Arizona, boy, hard to pick against. Even the Michigan, although that they took the loss to Purdue. Purdue just playing as well as what Purdue accomplished in this Big Ten tournament is the most I have personally seen them achieve under, I almost want to say under Matt Painter, because they didn't do it with the player of the year. It was this group that they've had together. None of them are, a guaranteed first round draft pick. I know a lot of people think that Braden Smith is. I'm not sold on that, although he has certainly made a case for himself with his distribution here of late. I mean, he just obliterated the assist record in the Big Ten tournament. But I think part of that is because as he got close to that record, he started going record hunting. But it in turn, it actually helped the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think He's a great player. He's a fantastic college player. I don't know what he's going to be like from an NBA standpoint. I mean, I would say, one thing I would note about, in terms of like what they've achieved. I mean, like, man, like I know Zach Edey was the player of the year, but like they found Zach Edey like Zach Edey was a risk. Like Zach Edey was at IMG, but he was like on the JVs at IMG. You know what I mean? Like Zach had been playing, basketball for 3 years. And he was a big, gawky 7'4" guy who played more baseball and hockey than basketball. We talked, we talked about all this. Yes, because he is a giant of a man, like there is some level of, okay, well, you just threw the ball in the middle. Like, well, yeah, but like you had to get to the point where you could throw that guy in the middle and he could do something with it. Like that in itself was a coaching job. And, shout out to Brandon Brantley, for their big man coach who's been there for a long time, who's been with Painter for a while, certainly had a lot to do with that. So like that was a coaching achievement in itself from a developing a guy who had barely played basketball when they got it, but was a coordinated guy. I mean, like they had the advantage of, sometimes you get these guys that have never touched a basketball and they can't catch, much less dribble. Edey had played baseball, had played hockey,
Uwe Blop.
What's that? Right. Some
Uwe
of those.
Blop.
Right. Some of those. With Peter Jerkin and Hannah Perea, Tom Crean literally asked Derek Elston to go play baseball with them. Like, no joke. Like he asked them to like give them baseball gloves and they threw baseball back and forth just so they would have the beginnings of an understanding of how to throw and catch. Like that was an issue that they had to get used to. And they got, Hunter got better at it. That will not further dive into the Hunter career. But like all the same, like that's how they started working on that. And that's how far behind they were. Edey wasn't as far behind, but still an impressive thing in development. But this group obviously doesn't have a central figure like that. It's got a lot of good players that are stuck around. I mean, they are anomalous, to have 4 and 5 year guys who don't have a transfer in there. And I think I speak highly of Painter. I got to see Painter operate up close for a couple seasons while I was on the beat with the Athletic, and like he is what makes him very good is he comes off as just very normal. Like this sport can drive you crazy. I mean, basketball can drive you crazy because it's just, football is different. It's this massive thing that you have to manage. But basketball, just the possibilities are endless. I mean, there's a gajillion guys out there who can play, so you feel like you got to be recruiting every moment of every day, because somewhere out there, somebody's doing something. And, when there's not somebody to recruit, there's plays to watch, there's whatever, like you can obsess yourself with this game and drive yourself crazy. And Painter has been really good at coming off as sane. And so people want to not only play for him, but stay there, because they're playing for them. It's not because, like West Lafayette's the land of milk and honey or anything like that, like they enjoy, playing for that guy. And so it is, but to go back to kind of your initial point, like for them digging out of it the way that they did in this tournament is really impressive. Because they had some games where they couldn't guard anybody, they down the stretch, you're watching them like they gave, what did Wisconsin have, like 90 something against them in one of those games, or high 80s or whatever. Like they're giving up, crazy scoring out, and that's something Purdue generally doesn't do. So they had to figure out something to stop that. And I think they still gave up a bunch of points in this tournament, but still just got it together in the course of this. And now you're looking at them and saying, okay, they can be someone that, again, they won themselves a 2 seed, and that puts themselves in a much better situation. And it puts them in a spot where they can really make a run here. Like, I don't think this is a Final Four team, but like they functioned as though that's not a totally crazy thing to think with the way they were playing down the stretch.
No, especially when you beat a team that is considered a Final Four team in Michigan. Yeah. A team that's potentially good enough to win a national championship, and they handled them. But they've also just been playing really well over the last several days. I think that having to play 4 games in the Big Ten tournament probably helped them get things off, because they had started to play well. They had gone through this funk, and but then they had started to play well. coming out of the end of the Big Ten season, and that carried over right into the tournament. And here we go. So looking forward to seeing who comes out of this. Florida also lost in their tournament final along with Michigan, but then you've got Arizona, who is rolling strong, baby. If you have it's still, I guess, early for a pick, but for me, it's just too tough to pick against Arizona right now.
Sure. No, I mean, they're winning big time clutch games. That league is rough. Winning the Big 12 is rough, and it is not easy to pull it off in there. And they just they continue to come up with clutch games. I love Jaden Bradley's game. I love Braden Burry's game. I love Koa Pete's game. They've got several dudes. They've only lost 2 games all year. When was our last loss? They had 2 in a row to Texas
games all year.
Tech. They lost 2 in a row to Kansas and Texas Tech in the middle of February. One of the Texas Tech game was an overtime game. The Kansas game, that was like Kansas's game of the year. And they came back and they beat those guys bad at Arizona. Like that. They beat Iowa State in overtime. They got Houston too. I mean, they're getting. They've just got so many guys. They're coming in on 9 in a row. They've won, and like 6 of those teams were ranked. They beat BYU. They got BYU. They got Houston twice in there. Kansas and Iowa State twice over the course of this stretch. I mean, that's some phenomenal basketball. It's tough to keep that up when you get in the tournament, but I mean, they've been through a gauntlet and they've come out of it, really strong. That's a really impressive finish to a season. And so they're in nice shape in that bracket. I got to look at that. Who do they play through? Let me see here. Yeah.
Arizona played Houston in the final.
It is Purdue. Is Purdue in the Purdue is the 2 seed. Gonzaga is the 3. Arkansas is the 4. I mean, I think the way ACUF's playing, like that's a tough looking Sweet 16 deal. But I mean, I certainly, I think up until that point they look pretty good, and I think they're I feel like they're definitively better than Gonzaga and Purdue. So if they get past Arkansas, I think that's the big one for me. They're a Final Four team if they get past Arkansas.
I don't disagree with it, brother. Well, I hope you get dug out of Milwaukee soon. Yeah. And
I'm dug out. The question is, I can drive this. I don't know. It doesn't look as bad as I thought it was going to look.
Oh, it's a driver. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, no, it's a driver to Milwaukee. So, yeah.
Well, be safe.
I'm going to try. Thank you, Jim.
Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star. Appreciate you, my friend. Man, didn't know he had to drive. That's going to be bad. Oh, the wind. Hopefully it's gone up there because I know they were getting a lot more up there. But hopefully it's all safe travels. We appreciate him. And we appreciate each and every one of you. Appreciate the Don Fischer, of course, for joining us each and every week here on this Monday. And Greg Rakestraw, of course, tomorrow. Our good friend Mike DeCourcy joins us just in time for the start of this NCAA tournament. Sean Morris, Big Ten announcer, former Big Ten player. He's been on with us before, but he'll be in Campbell's Corner tomorrow as well, along with J.D. Campbell. Looking forward to that. Man, just, I guess, stay in if you can today. Enjoy it in the next 2 days, and then it starts to come back, and hopefully that is the introduction to spring, baby, and let's get it rolling. I think that we will, but it's certainly been rolling today. Thanks to you. We're back tomorrow to do it again. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.